us out. The new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that celebrates the men and women who make coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. It's Thursday, so it must be Jeff Duncan Day. No. Jeff Duncan Day is on Fridays, usually. But the Saints play tonight. So Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune is with us today to talk about the game tonight and to kind of, we'll reflect on so much during this conversation. Before we go any further, let me just say welcome back to Coast Vue, Jeff.
Thanks, Ricky. I missed talking last week, but hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope your Thanksgiving was better than the Saints' Thanksgiving.
No doubt, man. It was hard to watch. Okay, look, you said this from the very beginning, and we'll start right off the bat with this. You said this, and you maintained it for the first couple of weeks. You said, look, the Saints have great starters in most cases. And we had some questions about secondary. We had questions about receivers. But we had some good starters. But because of the salary cap limitations, if we start to get injuries, we don't have the depth that we got spoiled with in the last 2 or 3 years. That has played out, hasn't it?
Yeah, and look, in defense of the front office and the coaching staff, I don't think any team in the league could withstand the injuries the Saints have had. I mean, it's just all piled up in the last couple of weeks. And the good news is they're starting to get some of the walking wounded back, and that should help. But the Saints last week against Buffalo, I mean, it didn't help that Buffalo had lost the week before in kind of embarrassing fashion, and the Saints got their A game. And you could tell early on in that game that Buffalo was not going to be overlooking the Saints. It was a primetime game. They came in, they had a huge crowd, Ricky. I mean, I think they had about 10,000 Bills fans there. It was amazing. And their body language told you they were into that game, and they just had the Saints outmanned. They had better players on the field and played better that night. So it really was an ugly game for the Saints, but I think things will be better from here because they're getting some of their best players back.
But you think about it, man. You got in that game, it defined it as good as you're going to define it. That when you have 2 or 3 playmakers on offense, it makes a difference. So here you have no Jameis Winston. Both your running backs are out. Michael Thomas is out. Man, I mean, how do you win in that scenario?
Yeah, very difficult. Not against a good team like Buffalo. And not only is Buffalo talented, but they match up really well with the Saints. I mean, they've got a very good defense, and they're very well coached. Sean McDermott is excellent. And so it was not going to be a case where they came in overconfident. I mean, they played lights out in that game. And their quarterback is another bad matchup for the Saints because he's big, strong, and fast. Josh Allen can run, and that's always been a problem for the Saints defense. The Saints defense is very aggressive, Ricky. And teams know that. They take advantage of their aggression by running a lot of misdirection and counter plays and get them going one way, and you zig when the Saints are zagging. And that's always been a problem when you have an aggressive defense, and they really took advantage. I thought their game plan on both sides of the ball was outstanding, and that's a credit to Sean McDermott.
So the defense overall played flat. Do you think not having Davenport made that much difference?
No, I don't think they would have won that game. I don't think it would have mattered. I mean, the first drive of the game told me all I needed to see. I mean, I think they missed 4 tackles on the first drive. And people want to say, well, the Saints, defense is on the field too long. They get worn down. They weren't worn down. It was the first drive of the game. They missed 4 tackles. I mean, it was egregious. And they had another coverage bust on a 3rd and 2 where they didn't know how to get lined up, and a guy gets a 26-yard gain. They're making some mistakes that have nothing to do with injuries, that just have to do with poor play and sloppy play and some bad coaching. And they've got to get better. And Sean Payton's talked about that this week.
He did talk about it. I had the opportunity to watch the entire news conference with Sean Payton. To me, it was one of the more interesting news conferences I've seen with Payton in a long time. I think you felt the same way. What made this so different? He was more empathetic, more disclosing. He showed his great memory about key events in his life and what was taking place. But what was going on with Sean these days?
Well, I tell you, it's not that unusual for him on a normal, say for a normal work week with Sean Payton on a Sunday game. We get him on a Wednesday, and then you get him again on a Friday before a Sunday game. So basically, the press conference you're alluding to was the Friday press conference of a normal week, but it was obviously not Friday. It was Tuesday because of the Thursday game, if you understand where I'm going.
Yeah, right.
And usually,
sure.
usually on those Friday press conferences, he is open like that. He is relaxed. He is engaging, and that's because the work week is pretty much over. He's not grinding. I mean, these guys grind, Ricky. I mean, they work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. They work till 2 a.m. And it's just he's so caught up in those other press conferences of trying to get done and get into his office and start the process of preparation that he's not as good. Usually by Friday, the hay's in the barn, and he's much more relaxed, like you saw him. And that's what we got the other day. And you can tell early on with him when he starts offering up things like that unsolicited, like he did. Usually he doesn't talk about injuries, but he talked at length about Taysom Hill's plantar fasciitis. And I think, one, because he's had it before, so he understands it. Two, I think there was a little bit of, self-awareness there in that he's been criticized a little bit for the quarterback situation, not using Taysom Hill. And I think he wanted to open up about that and explain why they haven't been using him, because he's got this serious foot injury I don't know how serious it is, but it's very painful. And for a player like Taysom Hill, who relies on his running ability, his mobility, it's a critical injury, and they wanted to get that healed up. So I think all those things added up.
Well, you're a runner. You've had plantar fasciitis. You know that I fought it for about 9 months once from my running. And what people need to understand is it's sort of tied into your calf muscle. So it's not just the bottom of your foot, but the way all that connects together. So running and extending, your foot that engages your calf muscle, man, it's extremely painful. I mean, I had to go to Tulane Sports Medicine to see an expert about it. And he decided at the time not to do the injections that, by the way, Sean Payton described in great detail, what that felt like and how many times you had to do it. But I think he also pointed out that Taysom has not had to have those injections yet. But that's actually a good sign, don't you think?
Yeah, well, look, he's going to start tonight in the game, and I think they wanted to get him 100%. I watched him pregame on the field in warm-ups against the Bills before that game, and he looked fine running around. He didn't look in any pain. He wasn't showing any limp at all. I thought he was going to play in that game, so I think they wanted to get him back to 100%. Like, I think if that was a playoff game last week, he could have played in it, and I think Alvin Kamara could have played in. I think what the Saints are thinking now, no one's told me this, but just knowing how they think, hey, let's get some of these guys back for this Cowboys game. Let's try to win, put everything into it. Then we got 10 days off after that. The good thing about the Thursday game is now you got a big break, and maybe you get everybody back for the last 5 games and you make a run and try and get back in this mix.
Well, you guys at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune have done a great job of talking about how big a mess the NFL is this year. The Saints, if they could get their players back and get some swagger back, they are so far not out of it. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just think they need to get a win and get some confidence back. They don't seem like they're playing with much confidence right now. And so I think Taysom Hill can bring some of that to the offense. I think he can bring some juice and some energy. If he could make a few big plays, if they can energize the team, because I think the last couple of weeks have been so grim, the team's not playing with much confidence. And you can just see it in their body language. They've almost looked hopeless out there. And I think he gives them a shot, along with Alvin Kamara coming back and Mark Ingram. All of a sudden, you got an identity on offense. You can try and run the ball and be physical up front on the offensive line and potentially get a lead in a game. They've been playing from behind almost every week. That's not how this team's built.
It's got to have driven Sean Payton insane. And one thing I note about him is, coming back to that news conference, is that in his eyes, he looks tireder than I've ever seen him before. You can tell if anyone's going to burn the midnight oil, it's him. But he has been burning the candle at both ends, trying to figure out the answer to this incredible rash of injuries he's had to face. I mean, have you ever seen him look so tired?
Well, I know it's gotten him down. I mean, because he's normally the most optimistic guy in the building. I mean, that's kind of his nature. And I just think this has worn him down because it's been one thing after another. They started the year on the road with Hurricane Ida recovery, and then, they had the COVID battles and then this injury outbreak. So I just think it's been one thing after another. It's been a tough season. They needed a lot of things to go right for them because of the salary cap purge they had in the offseason, losing Drew Brees, and really not much anything's gone right for them. So I think even the best optimists get down in a situation like that.
It's certainly been tough. Okay, so when we come back, we'll talk about what we might see in this game with Dallas. It's going to be very interesting to look at that, and we'll also look at what other key lingering injuries there might be on the defensive side of the ball. We'll see you after this break with Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
It's 2021 and J. Allen Toyota still has a lifetime warranty on all new Toyotas. They all come with Toyota Care. We've got a great rental department. We've got great used cars. We've got a parts and service department ready to help you. So when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk, Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visit.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. It was a special edition, Saints edition. Saints play tonight. They play Dallas, and we're, as usual, joined this week, usually on Fridays, by Jeff Duncan from NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. You know, Jeff, you and I have talked about this before, about how we took Drew Brees for granted and his ability to put the ball in exactly the right spot, how quick he got rid of the ball, how quickly he looked at the situation on the defensive side, read it, and figured out what he was going to do with the ball. He was a master at that. And as you pointed out in your book, you have to have a PhD in offense to run it the way Drew Brees ran it. The other thing that you have said before is that it's almost, if the quarterback doesn't play well, this is normally the case with most teams, but it's even more so with the Saints, that it's almost like a domino effect. If the quarterback's not playing well, it affects the entire team, and it's almost like taking the air out of the team. And that kind of describes what we've been seeing. You're hoping that by injecting Taysom Hill back into the mix, that we can bring that energy back, and that people, that this domino effect that's affected the entire team from poor quarterback play could begin to turn this thing around.
Well, I think Taysom Hill gives the Saints an identity. For better or worse, you're going to know what the Saints are offensively. They're going to be a running team. They've got a very veteran physical offensive line. They get Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram both back. Ingram and Kamara both said they're 100%. They're both dynamic players in the backfield. Suddenly, you know what you are offensively. You're going to try and run the ball, control the clock, and then every once in a while, because of the way we know defenses have to honor Taysom Hill as a runner, then all of a sudden they start getting different looks defensively, and it opens up some things downfield. That's why Sean Payton has always been intrigued by Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback, because he knows with his ability to run, that forces the defense to play a safety closer to the line of scrimmage, and it gives you some opportunities downfield for some big plays. And that, in my opinion, is the biggest factor in having him in, is a potential for explosive plays. The Saints are last in the whole NFL, Ricky. I mean, they don't get any big plays. They're forced to go 75 yards, 80 yards for scores, and that's just hard to do with what they have offensively. So if they can draw up some X's and O's magic from Sean Payton, hit some big plays, get some easy points, suddenly, they're back in the mix here. And I think that's the hope, at least, with having Taysom Hill.
Okay, so, boy, it's been an interesting year, because you had Taysom and Jameis Winston going head-to-head. Jameis won that. You had Taysom back in his Swiss Army knife role. Now you have Jameis Winston injured, and now Taysom's back in it. You see this contract extension with Taysom. So this could really change the trajectory of his career if he plays well, couldn't it?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, the contract's loaded with incentives for him to be the starting quarterback if he gets to be the starting quarterback. And I think this is a great audition for him right here. I mean, this is his team now. I mean, Jameis Winston's out for the year. Trevor Siemian's going to be the backup. Taysom Hill has a real opportunity here to prove that he can be the guy. And if he can do that, then there's going to be a huge payday awaiting him, because these incentives are built in for playing time and all kinds of different performance incentives that raise the bar on what he can make for this team. And I think it also shows the commitment for the team to him, whether he is a quarterback or not. They want him a part of this team as a playmaker on offense either way.
So when during Sean Payton's press conference the other day, he called you out specifically, saying you've been around for a while. Thought that you're Jeff Duncan is top of mind for Sean Payton. That's pretty cool. But you have been around. And what I'm curious about is you have all these relationships, both inside the organization and within the media pool. What are you hearing about how this week has gone? It's been a weird week because we played last Thursday and they were playing again on Thursday. But it's been a lot of secrecy really about what's been happening and whether even Taysom was even going to start for a while. But what are you hearing? Is there a buzz? They look pretty good. What are you hearing?
Well, I mean, I think there's still some concern about some of the offensive linemen, whether they are coming back or not. Ryan Ramczyk practiced, looked good in practice. Everybody was excited about him. And then all of a sudden the next day, on Tuesday, he did not practice. So that was a setback and certainly a concern because he's their best offensive lineman, their right tackle. I think and Teron Armstead did not practice, but then he came back to practice. So I think as long as one of those tackles plays on Thursday night, then they'll be okay because James Hurst has proven to be a solid other tackle. He's like their sixth starting offensive lineman. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they can afford to have both of them out because Dallas has incredible edge rushers. DeMarcus Lawrence is going to come back. He's playing. And they have the Dallas reminds me a lot, Ricky, of the Saints Super Bowl team in that they have this tremendous offense. I think they're leading the league in points scored. I think they're in the top 3 in yardage. And their defense, while they give up a lot, they make a lot of big plays. They make a lot of sacks, a lot of turnovers. Trevon Diggs leads the league in interceptions. And so they kind of feast or famine on defense. They make enough big plays, just like the Saints did in 2009 with Greg Williams in that group. And so I think the Saints are going to have to score some points because I don't think you can count on their defense to stop this team. So I think they're going to need one of those tackles in the game, or I think it could be a tough challenge.
Wow. Once again, it comes back to offensive line, and the importance of the defensive line playing the way they need to play. Any lingering issues on the defensive side of the ball that you're concerned about?
Well, it looks like Marcus Davenport won't be back, and neither will C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Those are two of probably their top 5-6 defensive players. But, talking to the defensive guys, they've not been playing well. Demario Davis talked about it, and I think you're going to see a different defense this week. I think they're going to play a lot better. They need to play a lot better. This is a big challenge. Even though we don't know if Amari Cooper is going to play, but it does look like CeeDee Lamb will be back. And there was a concern that Ezekiel Elliott might not play, but it looks like he's practiced all week. He's expected to play. So you have Elliott and Tony Pollard, another really good running back. They have 2 good backs. Obviously, Dak Prescott. They're going to be missing the right tackle because of COVID, and obviously Mike McCarthy and some members of the coaching staff aren't going to be there because of COVID. So there is some reasons to think the Cowboys could be vulnerable in this game.
That's interesting. I think we had a good plan when Sean Payton and the others were out, but the reality was, man, when your key guy's not on the field, it does change in terms of your ability to make those kind of calls on the field. So not having Mike McCarthy on the field is a disadvantage for Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like, obviously Dan Quinn's taking over the reins as the interim head coach. He was the head coach in Atlanta for all those years, so he knows the Saints well. And I'm sure they're just going to let Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, continue on play calling. But it will be a setback. Mike McCarthy is one of the best coaches in the league, and they're missing some other offensive coaches. So it'll be a challenge for them. I think Dallas is as talented as any team in the league. So the Saints are going to have a great game plan on both sides of the ball to stay in this game. But I think they're going all in. Like I said, they know they've got 10 days on the other side of this game to rest and heal up and make a push down the stretch. They're 5-6 right now. They need to get a win in this losing streak, get some confidence back, get back to 500 because the last half of the schedule is pretty manageable. Other than that game down in Tampa, they don't play a team with a winning record the rest of the way. So if they can get healthy, I think they can easily make a run and reel off, 4 wins in their last 5 games.
Well, you and I have talked about Quan Alexander and, coming back from the torn Achilles, and there was some real question about whether he could turn and juke the way he needs to, because that really defined his game, and there were some big question marks about that. More recently, you hear his number being called more. So what's the latest book on Quan Alexander?
Well, Quan Alexander is a feast or famine defensive player. He's a lot like C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He brings a ton of energy and juice and enthusiasm to the defense. He's definitely cocksure out there. Confident player. Well, he'll miss some plays. He'll make some missed assignments. He'll go to the wrong gap and give up a play, but you live with that because he's going to make some plays. He's made a big interception a couple weeks ago. He had a big tackle for loss last week against the Bills. So you live with some of the mistakes, just like C.J. Gardner-Johnson, because he's going to make more plays than he's probably going to miss. And if you notice a young rookie out there like Pete Werner, who's a very solid young player and still learning, doesn't make as many plays as Quan Alexander. So I think that's why they go with Alexander's the starter, but they're still really high on Pete Werner as well.
One thing is for sure, in the defensive backfield, they have to have to play their assignments and do what they're supposed to do. In the last couple of games, we've seen a little bit of confusion there from time to time. Is that just a lack of communication, or are people just not having their heads straight?
Well, I know there was a play in the Bills game where they got a player sent on the field late, and that could be a coaching error. I mean, the substitution was late, and the Saints were scrambling, and it cost them a 26-yard gain on 3rd and 2. They can't have that. Drew Brees even said it during the broadcast. That's unusual. They're extremely well coached on that side of the ball, but they haven't played that well lately. And I think part of it is the offense is just been so down that the defense is pressing. I mean, one of the players said that this week, that they feel the need to make plays, and that you can't play that way.
If you're not reading Jeff Duncan at NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, you need to. He's been so analytical, but also bringing a little bit of passion to his job, saying Saints are in a ditch. They can get out, but we'll see what happens tonight. See you, Jeff.
Thanks for having me on, Ricky. Talk soon, bud.
You bet. Take care.
Listen live or on demand and watch episodes of Coast Vue on your laptop, desktop, or on your phone or tablet by going to SuperTalkMSGulfCoast.com.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Get the scoop on what happened in college football and what to expect in the NFL. Each Sunday on Sports Sunday with Michael Borky. Get the story behind the stats, 8 to 10 a.m. on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and watch the show on supertalk.tv. SuperTalk Mississippi. We're more than just words. This is where the story of your state is told. Proud to cover the Magnolia State like nobody else. SuperTalk Mississippi.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard-to-find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter. Has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard. And,
wow.
All this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show. Every day, we're driving the debate in America with the fastest moving, hardest hitting, most comprehensive, fact-based commentary on the radio. We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth. Our show is a meeting place of ideas. We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On Super Talk, Mississippi. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on Super Talk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. As usual, I enjoyed that conversation with Jeff Duncan. We're really lucky to have access to Jeff. I hope he's right. I hope there's hope in this season yet as we start getting these returning players. And tonight should be a fun game, actually. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, we're going to flip this page now and move over to my friend Jeremy England, Senator Jeremy England. And, he's been a regular here on Coast View, someone I admire. And let me first just say, how you doing, my friend?
Ricky, I'm doing great. Hope you're doing well.
I always ask you to do this, but remind our audience what the unique area is you represent.
Yeah, absolutely. So Senate District 51 goes basically all the way to the Alabama line in Jackson County. So the communities of East Central, city of Moss Point, and then I come all the way back over to the western side of the county and include, I've got a little bit of Pascagoula, Goche, Ocean Springs, and the community of St. Martin and Van Cleve. So the northern part of Jackson County, east to west, pretty much.
Well, I have always had a fascination with our forefathers. I'm talking about from the very beginning of the formation of our country to those engaged in the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and all the things that made our country amazing. And, I am a big fan of Jefferson and what he brought to the table. FDR. I noticed that you recently finished a book on FDR, and you've read a long list of prior presidents. But FDR does stand out, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah. To be president during, coming out of the Great Depression and then heading into World War II, he had a lot on his plate, to say the least. So by virtue of where he was, and look, one thing that I found very enlightening about that was that he was dealing with big figures all over the country, or all over the world, really, with Churchill and Stalin and Mao and other folks. And he sat down at the table and led even among those big personalities. So he was a leader.
Yeah, when he won the Nobel Prize, I think in 1905, I remember reading about him once that he wasn't even engaged in some of the on-site stuff, but mostly what the Nobel Prize pointed out was his back channel leadership and what he was providing during those times. And it amazes me, really, to be honest with you, because they didn't have all this modern technology, which is one of the comments I made on your Facebook. Right. what a incredible moment in our world's history that he was involved in. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great.
So then, Theodore Roosevelt, distant cousin, who was our 26th president. And I quoted him this week because I'm a big outdoorsman. And, as you know, Theodore Roosevelt was the guy who brought the vision that created 230 million acres of national park in America. But here's something that he said, and I love these visionaries that helped form the United States. But he said this: in a civilized and cultivated country, wild animals only continued to exist at all when preserved by sportsmen. The excellent people who protest against all hunting and consider sportsmen the enemy of wildlife are ignorant of the fact that in reality, the genuine sportsman is by all odds the most important factor in keeping the larger and more valuable wild creatures from total extermination. And that was, man, think about when he said this. This is truly remarkable to me that they already saw that the industrialization, or certainly the America becoming inhabited, was going to have an impact on our land, and that they needed to bring some kind of incredible vision to the table that would help protect it. And as it relates to Mississippi, we're so lucky to live in Mississippi. I say this all the time, Jeremy, that Mississippi is the capital of outdoors in the United States for a lot of good reasons. And I love seeing on Facebook you out hunting with your son and enjoying the outdoors with your son. But you're not alone, are you? I mean, this is one of these God-given rights we have, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And look, you mentioned my son, but I find myself often in the house in an argument over who I'm going to take hunting, whether it be my son or my wife here lately. She likes to go also. But you mentioned sportsmen, and to be a true sportsman, I think you have to be a conservationist and you have to be an environmentalist. You have to love getting out and doing that, and protecting the element and just having a full appreciation of when you go hunting. It's not about going, you're not going to harvest an animal every time. You go out there and you enjoy the outdoors, you enjoy the sunrise or the sunset and the smell and the just everything about the outdoors. And Mississippi is so blessed to have that. And here in Jackson County, where I can go from my front door smelling the bayou and the salty air, and then drive 30 minutes north and smell the pine trees and get out into nature and get out into the woods. I mean, it's why we call it God's country.
We're so lucky. Of course, you're from Jackson County, and Walter Anderson is from Jackson County, the great artist, and we've had shows dedicated to Walter Anderson. But he said this, and I've read this a couple of times on my show, but I will read it to you because I want you to grasp how incredibly poetic this is. He said this, and he said, by the way, he said this after he had been on Horn Island for a long, long period of time by himself, kind of soaking it all up. But he said this: all movement is to invisible music. It comes from the sun and the wind and the running rabbit and the crowing cock. Altogether, it is part of a great symphony. The longer we listen and the quieter we are, the more we hear. And when we do hear, we are part of the music instead of an unwelcome interruption. When you're sitting alone in the woods, that's what you feel, isn't it?
Oh, it absolutely is. And look, those are some of the best moments of time with Levi and I are just sitting there, being quiet, and when you hear a rustle of a leaf or just anything, and seeing his whole, every sense he has kind of perk up and get excited about what we're about to see in nature. I mean, it's like a symphony all around you. And I think Walter Anderson really nailed it with that quote.
He really did. He really did. And, I thank you for continuing to inspire people around you to enjoy the great outdoors. Hey, listen, you've been really focused on anti-corruption legislation, and you're going to make another run at it this year. Talk to me about where you are in that process, and where do you expect this to go?
Yeah, Ricky. So look, I'm very passionate about trying to prevent people from stealing or embezzling state funds. When anybody takes money away from a municipality or the state, the state level, they're taking money from teachers. They're taking money away that we could be using for a teacher pay raise or for a pay raise for another government entity. If you take it from a municipality, they're taking it from your local ball fields or from your local parks, and that's very important. That's the people's money. And when we have people that we trust in a position to accept money are to deal with the state or the municipal or county coffers. And if they take from those, I think they ought to be held accountable to a degree where, we have a list or we have a registry, if you will, where once convicted, they go on that registry and they remain on that registry until they pay those funds back or until they serve their time. Because, look, it has happened in this state where someone would steal from a school district in one part of the state, move to a completely other side of the state and go right back into the school district and be dealing with funds again. And look, registries, registries can be dangerous, but I think this registry will serve a very valuable purpose, and that is to protect our state monies, and which are the people's monies.
Jeremy, it makes so much sense. I had Shad White, the state auditor, on recently, and one of the things I did before we talked is I went to headlines that involved the state auditor's office. And I think we had him, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I went back to maybe the end of September. Holy mackerel, man. First of all, I was amazed at 2 things. The amount of misuse of public funds that they've been focused on. And we're talking about probably by the time you add it up, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Then on top of that, the number of cases that the state auditor's office has been involved in. And truthfully, Shad White takes no prisoners. He has been a terrific state auditor. But no matter if it's $100 million or $350, they're really focused on protecting the state's funds. But the fact that someone could do what you just mentioned, be in one district in North Mississippi and then come to work down here and no one ever know about it, that's something we got to solve, isn't it?
It is. Look, we have a sex offender registry where we know people that are not trustworthy around our children, and we put them. And of course, that registry lasts, for life in most instances. But it's also important that these folks have proven themselves not trustworthy with the people's monies, and we need to make sure that hiring entities within our government understand that this person is not trustworthy or that they have not paid back their fines. And look, the law that I'm crafting will build in an incentive for them to pay that back, to pay the monies back and any retribution back, because they can have their names removed from the list that way. And look, we just have so many instances where the money's not being paid back, the time's being served, and then folks are just getting right back into it. And look, once you steal once, it's not unlikely that you're going to do it again.
I hear you. This is Senator Jeremy England, and we're just kind of talking about what's on his mind these days. When we come back, I want to talk more about workforce development. Is going to be, it comes up all the time as it relates to economic development, educational opportunities at places like Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. It's one of the most important things we can do, and I know this is something you've been talking about for an awful long time, and it's one of our keys to success, to be honest with you. When we come back, we'll continue that part of the conversation and see what else is on Jeremy's mind. We'll see you after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Just seems to me people have so much invested in not telling the truth.
When you want the truth.
Simply because it might hurt some feelings.
And nothing but the truth.
Lose some subscribers.
You want the Gallo Radio Show.
I just think in this audience, you still believe that if you tell the truth, you come out ahead.
The Gallo Radio Show.
And if you tell yourself otherwise, you're lying to yourself.
Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute.
Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play.
Hey, guess what? Bob is back, now at 106.3, playing the 80s, 90s, and whatever.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Check us out, the new Bob 106.3.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We have Senator Jeremy England with us today, and Jeremy has done a really good job of staying focused on some legislation that he has proposed, anti-corruption legislation that would actually ultimately create what is called a public funds offender registry. And you may not think something like that is necessary, but you come back to the number of people that Shad White has either charged or in the process of investigating currently. I mean, it is, unfortunately, there's just a few too many people who are engaged in somehow misusing or stealing public funds. And it's a long list, isn't it, Jeremy?
It is. It's unfortunately long, and you know, I'm hopeful that this will help add an additional level of deterrent to people not to do this, but also to remove people from the system that are proven to be offenders.
Well, good luck in your efforts on that. Let's shift gears. You know, when I have Mary Graham from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, I'm a product of Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. I talk about it all the time. The community college system in Mississippi is one of the best in the United States. Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is one of the best in the state. Therefore, they're one of the most important, strongest in the United States. But their efforts to reach out to industrial partners and be focused on job skills development, which is it's just as significant as sort of the educational side, which is if you're going on to a four-year university. Their partnerships with Ingalls, and this goes on and on, but we talk about job workforce development all the time. We can't do enough in that area, can we?
No, we can't. And like you mentioned before, this is so transformational for our state. You know, we always worry about brain drain and what we can do. And look, when I've talked to developers and to other companies looking to come into Mississippi, that's one of the first questions they ask, or one of the first things they talk about is workforce development and having a trained and available and ready workforce. And Dr. Graham has been instrumental on that. And look, my wife's also a product of Gulf Coast Community College, so we've got a frame hanging up in the house with that as well. But looking even further, that community college and high school, What we've got in Jackson County that I'm really proud of is our Economic Development Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce here in Jackson County, and the United Way Foundation have put together a plan they call P3, which is Passion, Purpose, and Paycheck. And I tell you, that has been something really interesting to learn about. They've got career coaches in high schools now here in Jackson County, and what they're doing is they're finding out what these students' passions are. But, students that maybe not want to go to college or may not want to take that route, and they're putting them in positions where they can have apprenticeships with Ingalls, or they can learn about jobs available for them at Chevron or with Northrop Grumman or any entity. And then the community college fits right into that. And look, Ingalls has this great program where they do a signing day for apprentices that come in, and they're going to go to work at Ingalls, and they treat them just like an athlete. They're proud of those students coming into their system, and these students are proud to sit at a table and sign that document and say, look, I'm going to start my career right out of high school, and I'm going to have a great job. And man, what a great honor for them, and what a great thing for Mississippi to be able to build on that, and just to have a great workforce development program. I'm committed to making sure we do everything we can to assist that.
So is there a legislative role that can be played to help bolster that?
There is. So obviously with appropriation of funds, that's always going to be important, and how we spend money. And we just saw the Accelerate MS program brought in. My good friend Ryan Miller, who was a law school classmate of mine, is director of that program, and he talked recently about different ecosystems that they're looking at and things that they can do. But what the legislature can do is we can make sure that we're listening to Ryan, and we're listening to our economic development foundations on what our needs are in our community as far as infrastructure goes. Infrastructure is always a big one. Look, safety, safe communities. A company that moves and wants to have a workforce in an area wants to make sure that their workforce is going to be safe. Good education, they're going to look at that. But of course the trained workforce that you have there. When we appropriate monies, and when we appropriate monies to schools, particularly like Jackson County has a request right now that's been that's got a very high rating from the Business Council on their CTE program and upgrades to CTE program, which is career training education. By the way, I recently said VOTEC, and I was told that was an old term. I don't need to say VOTEC anymore. So it's CTE, and look, we're building that in Mississippi, and the legislature is appropriating funds that go directly to that. So of course we have a very big role.
I saw that the governor continues to push really hard the efforts to put Ryan Miller's efforts on steroids. I mean, right. It's become that his efforts are becoming sort of a center stage for a lot of our innovative economic development efforts, isn't it?
It is. And look, Ryan was here I guess it was a couple of weeks ago at Pascagoula High School. They had an apprenticeship day. It was apprenticeship week, and they had a day there at the CTE Center, and we were fed by students there. Well, Ryan was able to hear from our Economic Development Foundation folks, Mary Martha Henson, and we also talked with Paige Roberts. So he heard what we're doing in Jackson County, and look, it's impressive, and I know he left impressed. So I think that will help him in this very big job that he's undertaking.
I know all those players very well. One last point, because we're coming to the end of our time together. I'm hoping the virus doesn't impact your session. As you pointed out to me in your note this morning, you haven't had a session yet that didn't have some kind of normality to it because of the pandemic. So good luck on that point. Continue to be a good leader, man. Stand for what you believe in. I've always been impressed by that, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Ricky. I've learned to be nimble when it comes to this virus, so we're ready to go.
You bet, buddy. You bet. This has been Senator Jeremy England. And anyway, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks so much, Ricky.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.